Hello and welcome to the next one-take tutorial for Chamsys. This one's just going to be very basic networking. If you at all already use ArtNet and networking consoles together, you're not going to get absolutely anything new out of this. This is for first-timers and people who know very little about computer networking, because really all we're going to be talking about is the most basic level of standard computer networking, which the consoles and Chamsys and so on and ArtNet nodes and so on just happen to use. First of all, I'm going to show you what I've got set up here. I've got a few things. So we've got a Hippo Chipmunk media server, also connected to an MQ60 console, my desktop computer with a few tools that we're about to go through, and we've got two universe ArtNet pathport nodes, so 4 universes total. So this at the moment configured to be Chamsys universe 5 and 6 and 7 and 8, and in universe 5 we've got a little LED power can. I've also got a little Wi-Fi access point, which is really cheap. I can highly recommend these, which is going to my iPhone with the remote app working. And yeah, so what we'll do is we'll just quickly go through how you get all these things connected together. Right, so first things to look at is really just the operating system's setups. And when I mean by that, I mean the console, any Windows, Mac, PC, whatever, and routers and so on, and even ArtNet nodes that might be connected to the network. Each system is going to be different, so I'm just going to explain it one time in Windows, and you're just going to have to apply that to each item. Each ArtNet node, each media server and so on works slightly different. However, the logic is the same. So we start off in Windows network settings. What most people will know and be used to is that you just connect a network cable to a computer or connect to a Wi-Fi network, and it just configures itself and works. In this case, this isn't that great. With ArtNet and streaming information that's show dependent, we want to lock each computer off to its own specific setting. And this is basically done in here in the adapter settings. Now what we're looking for is the IP, the Internet Protocol, which is the address of this device. Now normally, like I said, everything's automatic, which would be this, obtain an IP automatically. Like I said, we want to put everything in so that each address, each item on the system has its own address. I'm going to highly simplify this, okay? We start off with these numbers. There's 4 digits separated by a dot. Alright, let's call this country, town, street, house. Right? In our case, we always want the same country, the same town, the same street. Always. We're going to just imagine that we're on a show, a network is always just people within one street talking to each other. In this case, I've set this computer to be 60. Now, my MQ60 came from the factory with the default of 2.9.200.1, and I've just left that there, just purely because. Right, so grab the camera back, the highly professional webcam. Let's get this working, and we'll show you. We'll go through the system. So the first ArtNet node, you see, is 2.9.200.2, because every item needs its own address. But again, we're saying on the same street, but it's just that last number that changes. So 2.9.200.3 for the second ArtNet node. If we come all the way over here, here's what I've set the Hippo to, 2.9.200.5. Right. I haven't got it at hand, but I've got a small little netbook laptop, which is 2.9.200.4, which is the one I usually carry on site. To shows it's got a little, I can use it as a backup console, I can use it for monitoring ArtNet and so on and so forth. If we look down here, this USB to Ethernet adapter I use for this desktop computer is 2.9.200.60. which is this computer here. And what else? Well, the network point 2.9.200.254, so you don't see my Wi-Fi code. Right, so those numbers can be from, in each section, from 0 to 255, but really what you can use is 1 to 254. Now what I've done for my lighting setup is I've said 1 to 99 is for me to manually set. So I can type in any number here that's not been used, say 85, and use that. Okay, and from 100 to 254, the Wi-Fi router will automatically set in devices such as my iPhone, my iPad, a laptop through wireless, etc. Just try and keep what's automatic and what's manual separated, because if not, they'll start. Imagine your iPad and a laptop which has an automatic. Laptop has a fixed IP, and the iPad which is an automatic. Imagine they're both fighting over, say, the address 100. It'll keep jumping from one to the other, and you'll get strange things happening. Right, so that's IP. So that's all you need to know. Apart from with ArtNet, again, highly simplifying. Just keep within what I'll call the country range. There are some devices, some ArtNet nodes, for example, that have a fixed range. That in the back of the device you can just change this number with a rotating dial. That means you'll have to set up your consoles, your visualizers, your media servers, everything to whatever the 3 values they have here, and just go changing this number for each device. But generally, for simplifying older ArtNet and so on and so forth, it's safer just to use the 2 dot range. So it can be 2.0.0.123456789, whatever you like. But I've just gone with what Chamsys CAD out of the box, because why not? Right, 2.9.200, and then I've started off from 1. The subnet mask, all I'm going to say is, when you're in the 2 range, it's 255.0.0.0. If you're in the domestic, what's normally used range with any routers and things you may have at home, it'll be 192. Normally 168, blah blah blah. That'll be 255, 255, 2550, and this is the same on all devices. Just allow me to keep it simple for you and just accept that that's how it is. It's calculated by a bit of maths, which you can look up on Google if you want, but it's really getting into stuff that you don't need to know. It's just simple. The IP address is individual for everyone. The subnet mask is the same all the way through. And if you see here on the console, ooh, that's some annoying LEDs. There we are. Put my hand over. We're at 255.0.0.0 and 2.9.200.1, as I said earlier. Okay, that's it. Now that you've got that done, you've got every device on its own setting, you should start to get have everything connected and working. The best tool you can ever use is the command prompt. Right, we're not even talking lighting yet, we're not even talking ArtNet, we're just talking, do the cables work that go to each device. And now this is done by typing the word ping and then an IP address. So 2.9.200.1. This will test if the console is correctly connected, which it is. What it's going to do is send out 4 pings and wait for a reply. And what it's actually doing is measuring the time. So I can actually do this to Google. But I can't because I'm not connected to the internet. Right, but it's things that's something you could do at home to check your Wi-Fi, check your internet connection, and so on. So in this case, 2.9.201 is working. So 2, which is the first ArtNet node, is working. Right, and so on. Let's try the chipmunk. It's there. What I'm going to do now is repeat that with the console. Right, I'm now physically disconnecting the RJ45 at the back. And what happens is it sends out a ping, nothing comes back, and it sits waiting. I've now reconnected the RJ, the connector, and second one failed. There we are. Third and fourth have worked. That's what you're looking for, to get all 4 of those back in a decent time with no errors. Okay, that's simple, and you can do that from any computer to any device. Like I said earlier, here's an ArtNet node. All devices on the network will do this. Here is the router, right, connecting to the Wi-Fi. Everything will do that. If you're on a console, this can be done directly by typing ... 2.9.200. .ArtNet node 3. It doesn't work on magicq PC, but grab the camera back. Right, here we are. ... 2.9.200.3. There we are. Reply in time 1. Okay, nice and simple. So there you can, without checking any settings or so on, you now know that everything is physically connected as it needs to be. Okay, that's nice and simple. The next tool to have installed is this free program, ArtNetometer, which today says why. It says a different thing up there every time. It's worth having a go. It's good look. This will show anything ArtNet connected on a network. And you see I just had something happen there we need to look into. Right, so at the moment it's showing 3 devices, and you can check here. You can select the network device. On a side note, if you've got, for example, laptops are a great example that have 2 network adapters, one being Wi-Fi, one being wired. If you're using one of those for ArtNet, before you do anything, disable the other one, then connect up all the wiring and start your programs. It's far easier than trying to fight. Say Capture Argo might be looking for one of the network through the Wi-Fi, and the visualizer might be looking through the cable, and magicq PC might be trying to use both, and in the end it's easier to just disable everything except the one connector you are using, and then you just know it'll work because it's the only one available. The programs will just automatically select that one. So this program now shows us all the ArtNet that's it's finding on the network. For example, here it's saying it's found 12 universes, and now note that you will need to realize that Chamsys and magicq starts counting universes from 1, and ArtNet starts counting from 0. So universes 1 to 12 in magicq, when you are patching, are ArtNet 0 to 11, which can confuse a few times. You can end up scratching your head if you wondering why you're sending information something's not reacting. It's as if there's no DMX. Well, there isn't. It's somewhere else. So that was interesting. So yeah, it's found 12, even though it says 11, it's found 12 because we start at 0 universities, which is correct from my console. And you know they're coming from the console because they're highlighted green here at magicq console 2.9.200.1. What else has it found? Well, it's found the magicq PC up here, which is on 60, but it's not putting any ArtNet. As you can see, everything's disabled. And it's found GH ArtNet, which is Green Hippo ArtNet. That's the chipmunk, which has nothing patched, so it's got nothing enabled. Why is this useful? Because here I've got 3 generic fixtures set in a fade and dim chase, and look, you can go through each channel individually and see the actual data. Now, this will only troubleshoot your network information. This is not actually reading the raw DMX coming out of the XLR, as in I have now disconnected the XLR. That doesn't matter. That's not the same thing. So this is not going to tell you. In some cases, might not tell you why there's a problem with some lights, because all this is doing is saying, okay, at the ArtNet node, good ArtNet digital DMX, let's call it, is arriving. What's coming out of the node is something else. So this will only help you work out if the problem is before or after the ArtNet node. Alright, so I'm now going to add on, this is the LED, which you can see down here in this visualizer. I haven't put it into capture yet, and that's on this one. And here you can see the 3 channels scrolling through. Okay, nice and simple. And the last thing we've got is the chipmunk, which is on universe 11, which is here. And you see channel 1 is layer 1's intensity. So we can see it go up and down. and that's start and stop the video playback. Right, so this is a great little program, and you'll see the way that I've got the and magicq is always set up is that it just sends any changes, which basically means you see there's a very, very slow scroll here until you start it, and you see it starts as it's changing, it goes along really fast, and then you stop it and it stops, which basically means the network's not being flooded by lots and lots of unnecessary information. Imagine the entire 12 universes full of 512 channels, like all these channels here which are unpatched, working non-stop. That's a lot of information. So this is a decent way to do it. So you can see all of these channels are just static at that level because I've got information that isn't changing. It could be, say, size of the window, position, or any effects or whatever, and they're not changing. I'm only raising and lowering the intensity. Nothing else at all is changing, and you can see that here. Anyway, that's the main part of the ArtNet. From now on, it's just a case of configuring individual programs, such as here, Capture Argo. So with tools and options and connectivity, and here it's just a case of telling the Capture Argo to use the network interface that has the ArtNet on it, which you know is 2.9 to 260. Excused. If this visualizer, for example, was opened up directly through this menu, right? So that doesn't need any settings. However, if I was to open it up through the start menu, Magic Viz, yes, okay, it will be slightly different because it will show in the settings a network tab, and I have to select it. Now the console doesn't appear until I close Capture Argo for some reason, but it does there, but you can see it works. Right? So this is the way you need to work with the visualizer for an individual console without magicq PC. The reason this is working here, that's open through here, is because I've synchronized this magicq PC with the console, and that I've only been able to do that because I have an ArtNet, a Chamsys ArtNet and MIDI node connected, so it's taken it out of demo mode. So for example, if you want to synchronize two magicq PCs, you would need two PC wings, or a PC wing and a mini wing, or a maxi wing and a mini wing, or anything like that, that are basically two official pieces of Chamsys hardware to get it out of demo mode. It won't work unless if it's in demo mode. Right, and from then on it's really all the same. So the media servers are exactly the same. So here we are looking at the media server. That hasn't played because I'm not actually controlling anything from here, but that's exactly the same. So I've set here the media server to be in universe 12, which is ArtNet 11, which is what was written on the little ticket. And like for example here, I've had to patch, when I called this into patch, I patched it at universe 12, but in the hypnotizer I had to patch in universe 11. So like I was saying, just be aware that numbers don't always line up, so you have to know if you're talking Chamsys universe or ArtNet universe. Right? After that, well, the next great trick, and this is more of a Windows thing again, now we've finished really with all there is to learn about ArtNet, right, is how we can talk to remote consoles through Windows Explorer. This is really good for moving files, head files, show files, and so on, and I create entire backups using this very quickly and very easily. Within Windows, if you type // like that, and the IP address 2.9.200.1, I'm now looking at the hard drive of the console. So here's my show folder. I could go in there and create an entire copy. I'd have all of my heads, all of my shows, all of my FXs, all of my windows and so on. Here's some thumbnails for Hippo, for example. There's a thumbnail. And these are all inside the console, so I can make entire backups of anything I like. That's a really useful thing for you. So there's the main splash screen from the console. Right, now this can be done a few ways. So we said 2.9.200.1, but you can also just type in the console's name, which is from the host name, which in my case is called MQ60. And that's it done. Now this does have a default username and password, which is just magicq. So the username magicq and password magicq. But that's a useful thing. On the same front, if you go in here to the network settings, I'll close this, of magicq. If you go here to the web server enabled, especially on the consoles, and we come in here, I've got Firefox 192.16, no, wrong, that's my home network, 2.9.200.1, port 8080, which you can see down here, it tells you. Ports like saying, remember we said that 2 is country, then town, then street, then house. Imagine, well now house we're seeing which room. They just accept it as that simple. It needs to be separated by colon 8080, and I'm looking at information direct from my console. For example, you can now see the IP is 2.9.200.1 and the subnet is 255.0.0.0. Nice and simple. From then on, oh sorry, I missed out a stage. Why this is really useful, 2.9, 201, 8080, right? Why this is really useful, when I most use this page, to be honest, is, look at this, I can get into the patch in a basic web browser. So that means that any computer with a printer can now print out the patch for the show. And if you see, everything's here. The physical head number inside magicq, the DMX, addresses and universes, and the names. So you can name every fixture, hand it to a rigger, and he can address everything for you. And you just print out 10 copies of that, and it's something any hotel room can do. You can save this HTML file, take it on a pen drive, and know that any computer will print this. Nice and simple. That's why I use this mostly. Right, so really now, last things to show is the magicq settings. So yeah, I've told you about IP and subnet. On magicq PC, I always have this turned on, which is send information to the same PC, such as the visualizers and so on. The Ethernet remote control protocol, I've always ever just had on, because rather than disable it, if I'm not going to use Wi-Fi for security, I just disconnect the Wi-Fi adapter. It's that simple. And this, for the same reason, these two always have enable remote control and remote access enabled. Yep, you have those. Those are needed for, say, the tablet and iPhone apps and visualizers and so on and so forth. And from then on, we're really getting into settings which are for the larger consoles, the MQ70 and so on, which have the CamNet port on the back, which the MQ60 doesn't have. The short answer is, if you own an MQ60, do not touch these. I did once, and I got locked out of all network settings, and I had to actually reset the console back to factory defaults, and because there was no network, I couldn't do an easy backup, so I had to back up everything onto USB, file by file, one by one, and I could do all folders and things. I could highlight a lot of things, copy and paste it into the USB drive, but it just takes a lot longer. And this happened the day before a festival show, and I had to phone up Chamsys in Southampton for a bit of help, because I couldn't work out what was going on. So yeah, the gateway address, the control net and the control subnet are all for that CamNet port, which we don't have, as is the wireless stuff, which is stuff on the MQ70, for example, that has an inbuilt wireless access point. All of those, the best thing to do is just don't touch them, because you might start playing around with settings which confuse the network adapter we do have. But those are really just not necessary. Other than that, magicq PC just set the same number here as you've got in the system, which as you see down here was 60, which we set earlier, and just put that same number in there, and that's it. After that, here is the set host name. This is where, when I typed in the address bar to go to MQ60, that's because here it's called MQ60. There I can name it to everything I want. For example, here it's CRB1-HP, and I'll grab the camera again, and you'll see the host name is what's there, MQ60. Right? So if you see any console, say you've hired one from a different company, that there is you don't need to know the IP. That first thing written there is its host name, So that's how you can find it on the network, nice and easily. Anyway, hope that's helped, as always. Feel free to send any questions. You'll mostly find me in the Chamsys programmers and users group on Facebook, because it honestly is the quickest, easy way to get me, because it's just come straight to my phone and I get notifications. And there's also, if I'm busy, there's lots and lots of people who can answer those questions for you. If not, hang around, and in a short while there'll be another tutorial on timecode settings. Anyway, thanks for watching.